Good afternoon. We are going to now begin the commemorative program in memory of the Armenians who died in the first genocide of the 20th century, the Armenian Genocide, which began on this day, April 24th, 98 years ago. You should have a program. If you don't have one, some of the students will be passing out the programs for today, what our activities will be, and you can follow along with me. I'm Professor Barlo Dermagardician. I'm the advisor to the Armenian Students Organization, who are the primary organizers for today's event. And I want to thank them for organizing this annual event. And as I mentioned to you a few years ago, I was a student here at Fresno State, and we were doing the similar kinds of commemorative activities. And actually, we've been here, Armenian students on this campus, for more than 40 years to commemorate the Armenian Genocide. Often students ask the question, why are we here? Why do you come out to the free speech area to commemorate the Armenian Genocide? And in thinking about this, I would say that there are two primary reasons for us to be here. The first is to commemorate the Armenian Genocide. That is, we as Armenians and friends of Armenians are here to remember. Memory involves the idea that we know who we are. We have an identity as Armenians, and we as Armenians would not be here in Fresno, California if it were not for the Armenian Genocide of 1915. So most Armenians here in this area came because of that genocide. So we're here to memorialize that moment in history and to think about how we fall into that part. We are part of an Armenian civilization which has been in existence for 3,000 years. So the first part of why we're here is to affirm our Armenianness, who we are as Armenians. The second part is to tell the Turkish government and to remind the world that we know that there was an Armenian genocide. And it's our purpose here today to also tell the world that it's not enough to simply remember, but we must also affirm that what took place was an Armenian genocide. Why is that important? Well, if you don't do that, then you allow the Turkish government to write the history of the Armenian people. And in doing so, they will simply say there were never any Armenians living in what is today the country of Turkey. And the only way to combat that is to come here and all the places in the world where there are Armenians and to say loudly and clearly that there was an Armenian genocide. The world will recognize the Armenian genocide, and that we are here as Armenians to commemorate, and are friends of Armenians to commemorate that genocide. That's why we're here today, and that's why we will continue to be here this year, every year, and for as many years as possible in the future. It doesn't matter when the genocide is finally affirmed, we will still commemorate the Armenian genocide. Today, I would like to introduce the president of the Armenian Students Organization, Hagop Ohanessian, who will introduce his executive members and then also introduce today's program. Hagop?
Thank you, Professor Barlo. Good afternoon, students, faculty, and members of the community. My name is Hagop Ohanessian, and I am the president of the Armenian Students Organization. At this time, I would like to also introduce my fellow executives. Marine Vartanyan is our vice president. Lilit Gregorian, next to her, is our treasurer. Lauren Chardukian and Kevork Ajamian as well on our executive committee. I would like to thank you all for attending our annual anniversary commemoration of the Armenian Genocide. Furthermore, I would like to thank ASO advisor Professor Barlo Dermagardician, members of the Armenian Students Organization, the University Student Union, and the associated students for their support and help in preparing our program this afternoon. It is hard to believe that we are near the centennial anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. This year marks the 98th year. Many of our ancestors, including grandparents and great-grandparents, were victims of an unforgettable atrocity perpetrated by the Ottoman Turkish government beginning April 24, 1915, in what was the first genocide of the 20th century. As we stand here today, let us not only reflect on the 1.5 million Armenian men, women, and children who were martyred, but to take a stand for justice and to become active in our community and on campus in helping to raise awareness of the issue of genocide. Genocide has become an international human rights issue. This year, the ASO has used the theme Hands on Human Rights. The hands emphasizes the active pursuit of genocide, awareness, and recognition. The handprints are also displayed on our genocide t-shirts. Today's program will consist of singing of Armenian songs by the Charlie Kian Armenian Community School students and ASO members, Armenian dancing by the Armenian Araks dancers of Fresno, survivor testimonies and eyewitness accounts of the Armenian genocide, followed by placing carnations to pay tribute to the 1.5 million men, women, and children who lost their lives during the genocide. On the Armenian Martyrs Monument, on your right side here, called the Tzitzer Nagaper, which is here today and is a replica of the one in Yerevan, Armenia. At this time, I would like to now invite the students of the Charlie Kian Armenian Community School to come sing two songs, and they will be singing two songs, one Bidi Ganank, which means we are going to go, and we are Hayek Menk, which means we are Armenian. Thank you. How about another round of applause to the students of the Charlie Key Armenian Community School students? Thank you very much. This is our future. The students here keeping their culture and identity alive through music is such a wonderful thing. So thank you very much to the school. At this time, I would like to invite a few of our ASO members who will give a few quotations and excerpts from memoirs. I would like to start with Kanarik Kazarian, who will give a quote from former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt on the Armenian genocide. Kanarik?
Thank you. This is a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. He was the 32nd U.S. President, and hopefully we all know him. He wrote this letter to Cleveland Hoadley Dodge on May 11, 1918. And he said, "The Armenian massacre was the greatest crime of the war, and the failure to act against Turkey is to condone it. The failure to deal radically with the Turkish horror means that all talk of guaranteeing the future peace of the world is mischievous nonsense." Thank you.
Next we will have Lilit Gregorian, who will give excerpts from Antranik Matevosyan's memoir. Lilit?
Andranik Matevosyan holds a secret wish in his soul, which he knows will not come true. He wants just once more to see cars, but now 93 and shut out by age and a closed border, he knows he's likely to leave this world without yearning unrealized. "Of course, child, of course I have dreams," the old man says. "As long as I live, my dreams will live with me." Andranik was 6 when in 1918 his family escaped Kars during the middle of the Armenian genocide. He was small, but he remembers the sufferings he underwent as if they were today. There was not one or two of us. We were hundreds of people running away. With shock and terror in our hearts, we would go. We didn't know where we would end up or what would be. The thing that mattered was to escape. Otherwise, Turks would kill us. But people were exhausted and died of hunger, remembers Andranik. People were forced to leave the things they took with them on the way, unable to carry their belongings anymore. And when exhausted, they fell along the way. They will look for ways to save their children. As soon as I speak, I remember newborn children thrown into the river by their own parents when they felt unable to go on. They thought if they died, their children could fall to the lot of the Turks while the water might carry them onto the shore, and that could survive that way, Andranik recalls. Along the way, Armenians would pretend they were Kurds and didn't speak Armenian, in hopes of confusing the Turks they met and that way maybe escape. Andranik remembers how his father distorted Andranik's mother's face by scratching, putting soot on her, and messing her hair in order to save her from being kidnapped by Turkish men. The refugees often went without sleep. Only once in a few days they would have a rest under trees. I never forgot the eyes of my parents when one morning we started out and my mother suddenly remembered that we had left my young sister under the tree. My mother beat her hands on her knees, cried until my father fetched the child. They could not be blamed. They seemed like they had already lost their consciousness. They couldn't understand anymore what was going on, and they were running, tells Andranik.
Thank you, Lily. Now we will have Benjamin Tanyelyan, who will give us excerpts from the horrors of Aleppo.
I'll be reading from a manuscript written in 1917. I'll be reading from a German manuscript written in 1917. When I returned from Aleppo in September 1915, from a 3-month holiday in Beirut, I heard with horror that a new phase of Armenian massacres had begun, which were far more terrible than the earlier massacres under Abd ul-Hamid, which were aimed at exterminating root and branch the intelligent, industrious, and progressive Armenian nation, and at transferring its property to Turkish hands. Such monstrous news left me at first incredulous. I was told that in various quarters of Aleppo there were lying masses of half-starved people, the survivors of so-called deportation convoys. In order, I was told, to cover the extermination of the Armenian nation under a political cloak, military reasons were being put forward, which were said to make it necessary to drive the Armenians out of their native seats, which had been theirs for 2,500 years, and to deport them to the Arabian deserts. I was also told that individual Armenians had lent themselves to acts of espionage. It is utterly erroneous to think that the Turkish government will refrain of its own accord even from the destruction of women and children, unless the strongest pressure is exercised by the German government. Only just before I left Aleppo last May, the crowds of exiles encamped in Ras El Ain on the Baghdad Railway, estimated at 20,000 women and children, were slaughtered to the last one. Thank you.
Thank you to our ASO members for reading those memoirs and quotes. And now I'd like to invite the Araks Armenian dancers of Fresno to perform a dance which is called Vagar Shapat. Thank you very much to the Fresno Audax dancers for your beautiful performance. Another round of applause. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, as today's program comes to its end, I would first like to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude for all of our supporters, those who come here every single year to commemorate the anniversary of the genocide with us students, and those who join us today even for the first time to learn about the Armenian genocide. The Armenian Students Organization strives to educate our peers and our community about this dark moment in our history. And we will continue our cause, regardless of how long it takes for the denial to end and for justice to be served. Through today's program, through our dances, our poetry, and our music, we showed the world that despite the tragedy we have gone through, we will continue to prosper, to rejoice, and to remember our history and our ancestors who perished at the hands of the Ottoman Turks. Every April 24th in Armenia, thousands of Armenians march to the Armenian Genocide Martyrs Monument, which is called Tsitsernakapert, and they lay a flower at the eternal flame. And today we have a model of the Tsitsernakapert set out right here. And as our last performance takes place, I invite you all to pick up carnations from our members who will be passing them out over there, and in a line to approach the Tsitsernakapert and place the carnations onto the monument to commemorate the lives of the victims who passed away in the genocide. And now I would like to invite our performers, Georg Ajamian, Tate Vikovanisyan, Ruzan Orkusyan, Aramais Orkusyan, and Emma Shaljan to perform Garuna by the Armenian composer Komitas. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you next year.